thanks for joining me. We're gonna do a sun salutation practice today. So we're gonna meet on our mats or on a towel, on a nice carpeted floor, whatever you have. We're gonna run through some warm up for the sun salutations. If you've been in my class, we've done a lot of this before. And then we're going to run through sun salutation A, which is something we do a lot of in class, and then maybe move through some sun salutation B as well. If anything doesn't feel right for your body, as always, it's probably not, so take as many breaks and rests as you need. We're going to start in child's pose, so that's a really nice pose to just come down to and take a break in anytime you feel like you just want to take a rest. I'm also available on WhatsApp and email, so if you do have any questions from the practice, don't be afraid to pop me over a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So we're going to start. You're going to come up onto your knees. Take your knees about as wide as your mat. Take your big toes together, plunk the bum down on the heels, and you're going to walk the hands forwards. See if you can keep the connection between your bum and your heels as you lengthen your arms forwards. And creep the fingertips a little bit further away. We're going to have the hands about shoulder width to start. So your baby fingers will be out towards the edges of your mats. The index finger is going to point straight forwards. Spread your fingers wide and then let the forehead come to rest down on the floor or towards the floor. If that feels really uncomfortable, you can stack the hands and use that as a little bit of support for the forehead as well. And then once you're there, you're going to just settle down. Close the eyes, take a few moments to just come into the body. So notice how your body is feeling. Noticing any areas that are speaking to you in this pose. Notice how the hips feel. How the knees feel. And if your body feels like it wants to move about a little bit or make any adjustments to get yourself settled in, that's fine, you do that. Notice the points of connection between your body and the floor here. So you might feel a real kind of sense of the weight of the body down in the knees, in the tops of the feet. So can you ground down a little bit more through the hands. Maybe creeping the fingertips a little bit further away from you as you breathe in. And letting your hips sink down and back a little more as you exhale. Let the shoulders draw back away from the ears and give yourself space around the neck here. Starting to notice the breath now. And you're not trying to control the breath. You're not trying to change it anyway. You're just watching how it flows in and out of the body here. So keeping the breathing through the nose. It's quite a nice pose here to feel the breath moving through the back of the body. So noticing how the inhale kind of expands a little bit of space between the shoulders, along the spine. And then your exhales, let everything soften and settle back down. Maybe breathing in a little bit deeper, so making your inhale a little bit longer and making the exhale a little bit longer. See if you can get both in-breath and out-breath about the same length. So it feels good, it helps to count the inhale and the exhale in your mind, then do that. And taking a few full rounds of breath here, just in your own time. And if the mind starts to wander, though, it's totally normal and natural. That's why we practice. So just noticing whatever thoughts come up and seeing if instead of attaching to them and getting swept away with them, you can just let them go. Let yourself come back to the breath. Nothing else really matters right now, just your body on the mat and your breath. When you're ready, you're going to lift the gaze to look towards the top of your mat. And as you inhale, let yourself lift up into tabletop. So coming up onto the hands and knees. Make sure your wrists are right under your shoulders, and then take your knees under your hips. So they might move a little bit closer together. Let your toes point back and press the tops of the feet into the floor. So you're getting a little bit of engagement around the abdomen here. Your hands are going to work the same way as they did at the start. Fingers spread wide out towards the edges of your mat. And we'll take a few gentle cat-cows here. So as you inhale, let the tailbone lift and the belly drop slightly. Your chest draws forwards through that space between the arms. And lift the gaze. On your exhale, you can take the spine, curving it up in the other direction, so you're pushing the floor away with the hands, taking an arch up between the shoulder blades and tucking the chin in towards the chest. Inhaling again to arch up. And letting your exhale round your back down. And take this movement in your own time, with your own breath. If it feels good to bring a little bit of forwards and backwards motion in, you can, or side to side. Just be a little bit fluid with the body here. You're starting to wake up the muscles around the spine and the waist, around the shoulders, and just bring a little bit of movement into the body. Full deep breaths. Keeping a little bit of draw in on the lower abdomen just to protect the lower back. And then after your next exhale, coming back to center. Tuck the belly in slightly. Lengthen through the crown of the head and lengthen through the tailbone. And spread the fingers wide again. You're starting with your shoulders over your wrists. And we're going to take a few half drops to the floor. So as you exhale, you're going to keep the belly strong and take the weight forwards. So your shoulders will come forwards of the wrists here, maybe in line with the fingertips. If that feels really uncomfortable, take the hands just slightly further forwards. But you're exhaling forwards so that your hips are coming forwards of your knees. Make sure you don't drop the hips down towards the floor, so you're keeping the hips lifted, keeping the lower belly strong. Breathe in here. Push the floor away with the hands slightly. And then on your exhale, you're going to squeeze the elbows in towards the waist, and we're going to try and bring the chest and the hips to the floor at the same time. So you're going to lower, drawing elbows in, chest and hips down. Press through the tops of the feet here, lower the lower abdomen into the floor. And as you inhale, let's take a gentle cobra here. Draw the elbows in towards the waist, lifting the chest slightly off the ground. And exhale, come back into our child's pose. So sink the hips back towards the heels and lengthen the arms forwards, head down. Let's take that again. Inhale up. Exhale, take the weight forwards. Shoulders forwards of wrists, belly tucked in. This time as you come in, maybe come down to the floor, maybe close your eyes. So really try and feel what part of the body is touching the mat first. If it is the hips, we need to work a little bit stronger on the lower abdomen and keeping the hips lifted. We're trying to get chest and belly to the floor at the same time. So close the eyes, take your in-breath here, and exhale, squeeze the elbows in towards the waist and start to lower the chest and hips down. Notice what touches the mat first. Cobra again, tops of the feet press down into the floor. Inhale, peel the chest up, draw the shoulders back down the back. And exhale, child's pose. Sink the hips back to the heels. Soften the head towards the mat. Okay, let's take one more. Inhale up, tabletop. Exhale, weight forwards. Lift those hips a little higher if they've sunk down. Squeeze the elbows in. And on your next out breath, lowering to the floor again. Strong in the arms, strong in the belly. Press through the tops of the feet, Bhujangasana, Cobra. Maybe lifting a little bit higher here, just making sure not to bring any pinching into the lower back. Strong in the feet. Exhale, hips back, sink, and soften, child's pose. Lift the head. Let's make our way into our downward dog. Maybe if your wrists are feeling a little tired, giving them a roll out a couple of times before we move through. And then you're going to lift the hips just enough to tuck the toes underneath you. Push the hips back towards the heels. And on your next out breath, let's lift the hips back and up. We're drawing up with the knees. So we're looking for sort of upside down V shape with the body here. Your tailbone is going to be the highest point. If it feels good, take a little bit of movement in the pose to start. Maybe pedal the legs slowly a couple of times, or sway the hips a little side to side. Just finding a nice, comfortable enough downward facing dog to begin with. Then settling into a little bit of stillness. Look towards your hands. Just make sure they're working properly, so baby fingers out towards the edges of the mat again. Spread the fingers wide and make sure the hands are level with each other, so you haven't got one hand further forwards than the other. From there, let the gaze drop back again, so you're looking back towards the feet. The feet are level with each other as well. And there's a little bit of a gap between your feet, so maybe about a fist to fist distance between your big toes. It's okay if there's a little bit of a bend in the knees here, if that helps you to push the belly back towards the thighs. Get a nice long spine. We're looking for a long line from the wrists all the way up to the hips. Notice if you've bunched the shoulders up around the ears, can you draw them back down the back? Give yourself a little bit of space around the neck. And on your next inhale, let's roll through into our plank. So shoulders coming over the wrists. Trying to find that straight line from your shoulders to your heels. Become aware of your hip level. If your hips have dropped towards the floor, lift them up in line with the shoulders. And if you're looking for a little bit of a softer pose and your hips have lifted up towards the ceiling, see can you bring them back down in line. If this starts to feel a little bit too strong, keep that work in the belly, but just let the knees come back to the floor. So we're coming back into that first position again. Let's take a couple of ripple throughs here. So as you exhale, pushing back into downward facing dog again, hips lift back and up. And your inhale takes you forwards into plank. Let's move slowly and mindfully through these, moving with your own breath. Nice bend in the knees in your downward facing dog as you exhale. Strong belly. Strong arms on your inhale through to plank. Your gaze is slightly forward of the hands, so maybe towards the top of your mat. Let's take one more. On your next inhale, finding yourself in that plank pose. Nice and strong through the arms. Push the floor away here with the hands. Push the space between your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling slightly. So you're giving yourself almost kind of a little bit of a hunchback here. Draw the belly in. We're going to come down to the floor. So we have a couple of options. You can drop the knees and come back down the same way we did before. So that's shoulders forwards with the wrists, lowering chest and belly at the same time. Or if you want to take a little bit further, you can come straight from plank. You're doing the same action with the arms here, so your elbows are drawing in towards your waist. And as you exhale, you're taking chest, hips, and knees to the floor at the same time. So maybe close the eyes, lowering down on your exhale, and noticing what touches the mat first. Great. Point your toes back. Inhale, arch up. Exhale, let's come back to our downward dog. So push back to the knees, tuck the toes, and lengthen the tailbone back and up again. Taking a few breaths here. Give yourself a moment to check in with your hands. Check in with your feet. Belly is lengthening back towards your thighs. Let the head be heavy. And then let's take that flow once more. Inhale, roll forwards through to plank. Taking your option here for your vinyasa, so whether that's knees dropped or knees lifted, keeping the belly strong. Exhale, shoulders slightly forwards of the wrists. Inhale here, squeeze the elbows in, and exhale, lowering down, strong and controlled in the body. Press through the tops of the feet again, and inhale into your cobra. Elbows in towards the waist, shoulders down the back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lengthen back and up at the hips. Let the head be heavy. See, can you maybe think about turning the armpits to face in towards each other and give yourself a little bit of space across the back of the shoulders here. Notice if your lower front ribs are sinking down towards the floor. Can you tuck them in a little bit? Let the tailbone lengthen back and up towards where the wall and ceiling meet behind you. Take one more breath here. And as you inhale, let's roll through into that plank pose again. Choose your option, whether you want knees lifted or knees dropped. Either way, keeping strong in the arms, strong in the belly. Take the weight slightly forwards, shoulders forwards with the wrists. On the exhale, squeeze the elbows in, lowering to the ground. With control. If the hips feel like they're flopping down first, practice with the knees down instead. Inhale into your cobra pose. And exhale, let's take a little break in child's pose again. So back to the knees, hips to the heels, and head down. If your arms and wrists are feeling a little bit tired, you can practice this child's pose with the arms back by the sides and the palms are going to face up. Let the forehead relax down into the floor, and maybe squeeze the fingers in towards the palms of the hands, stretch them out, kind of starfishing the hands, and do that movement a few times. You can roll the wrists here if that feels good. Let's lengthen forwards with the arms again. We're going to start to make our way up into downward facing dog one more time. So look towards your hands. Lift the hips to tuck the toes and then push the hips back towards the heels. On your next out breath, let's lengthen back up into down dog. Just take a moment to find the pose. And then you're going to look towards the top of your mat. And inhale, start to step the feet forwards. So getting right up to the top end of your mat. Your feet can be hip width apart if that feels good. If it feels okay to have the feet together, that's big toes touching and a little gap between the heels, that's fine as well. If your feet are slightly apart, just make sure that they're parallel to each other. From here, take your hands to your shins. Inhale, it's halfway lift. So you're lengthening the crown of the head forwards, lengthening through the back of the neck and drawing the shoulders right back away from the ears. Tuck the belly in again. Exhale, fold down over the legs. And take that movement a few times with your breath. Your inhale lengthens you forwards and up. And your exhale lets you lower down over the legs. Once more. Inhale forwards. Exhale, let's fold down. If your hands aren't comfortably on the floor, give yourself somewhere to hold on to. So maybe onto the ankles, maybe onto the calves or the shins. Your chest on the exhale is lengthening towards your big toes. So you're avoiding crowning the spine and crunching in towards the knees. Instead, you're looking for a long, lengthened spine here with the chest reaching forwards and down. Then let the head be heavy and relax. Lift the shoulders away from the ears. And just being careful of the balance, maybe think about tilting the weight forwards into the toes slightly. Notice how that changes the stretch on the back of the legs. See, can you push the calves back towards the wall behind you? Can you use the strength of the front thighs to lift the kneecaps up towards your hips? And then gently tilt the weight forwards again. Just take one more breath here. And inhaling, lengthening up towards the ceiling. Let's reach the arms up and overhead. And exhale, take the hands to heart center. Just pause for a moment at the top of your mat. And then we're going to move through some Sun Salutation A, Surya Namaskar A together. So make sure your feet are right up towards the front edge of your mat, so you have space behind you to move. Hands start at heart center in prayer. Shoulders relax down. Stay strong in front of the thighs, and as you breathe in, let's lengthen the arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold down over the legs. Inhale, hands to the shins. We'll halfway lift as you lengthen the crown of the head forwards, flat back. Exhale, we're going to make our way back into our plank. So take the hands down to the mat, either side of the feet. You're going to step one foot back, followed by the other. And give yourself a moment to find yourself in that position. Shoulders over the wrists. Strong, straight line from the shoulders to your heels. Take your inhale here and tilt the weight forward slightly, or bring the knees to the mat if that option is better for you. And exhale, squeeze the elbows in, lowering to the floor. With control, slowly down. Press down to the tops of the feet. Peeling the chest up as you breathe in into your Cobra, Bhujangasana. And exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips back and up, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Let's take 5 breaths here. If you feel like you want to take a break, you can drop the knees down and soften into a child's pose. Otherwise, we're working on lengthening the tailbone back and up. Spread the fingers wide and push the floor away with the hands. The heels are lengthening down towards the floor. Even if they're not touching the mat, that's fine. You're just getting that direction with the legs. Can you maybe strengthen up the fronts of the thighs a little bit if the legs are straight? And if you're in child's pose, making your way back up to downward facing dog, we're going to look towards the top of the mat. On an in-breath, step your feet forwards. Feet hip width apart. Half lift. And exhale, fold. Breathing in to lengthen up and overhead again. Arms lift up. On out breath, take the hands down to prayer in front of the chest. Let's take a few more rounds. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Hands to the shins as you inhale halfway. We're going to make our way back to plank. So can you step back with the other leg this time? So hands down to the mat, stepping back. Choosing your variation here, whether that's with the knees lifted, coming down to chaturanga, or taking the knees down to the floor, coming down halfway. Take the weight forwards. Exhale, lower. Inhale, arch up. Exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Maybe slowing the breath down again here. So long, slow inhales. Long, slow exhales. Last breath. Look towards the top of the mat. Inhale, stepping forwards. Half lift here as you breathe in. Folding down over the legs as you exhale, long, lengthened spine. Inhale to come up to standing, reaching up overhead with the hands again. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's take 2 more of those. Breathe in to lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, stepping back, plank. Inhale, roll the weight forward slightly, and exhale, lower. With control as you come down, remembering the option is always there to have the knees on the floor. Inhale into your back bend, let the shoulders draw back. Exhale, downward facing dog, taking a few breaths here. Head relaxes, shoulders draw back, and the neck is soft. Can you have full steady breaths? Look towards the top of your mat again, and inhale, step forwards. Half lift. Exhale, lengthen the chest down towards the feet. Inhale, lifting up to standing. Exhale, hands to heart. One more together. Breathe in and out. Inhale and plank as you exhale. Exhale as you exhale. Choose your option for your vinyasa. Lowering towards the floor as you breathe out and inhaling to arch up into your back bend. Let's exhale back and meet a downward facing dog with the hips lifting back and up. Taking a few breaths here. Notice where the mind is. See, can you bring it back into the body? Back into the breath. Let your inhales give you loads of space around the rib cage. Let your exhales take your chest back towards your thighs a little more. And then look towards the top of your mat. Inhale, step forwards, flat back. Exhale, fold. Lifting up to standing on the in-breath. Exhale, release the hands to heart again as you exhale. And let the arms come down by the sides. Just pause for a moment here at the top of your mat. Maybe let the eyes close. We're going into Tadasana. Mountain pose. Notice where the weight is on your feet, and can you balance it so that you're pressing evenly into the fronts and backs of the feet. Let the shoulders relax down the back and get a little bit taller through the spine. Your fingertips are lengthening down towards the floor. Notice the breath again. See, can you get the inhales and exhales back to the same length? Slowing everything back down. We're going to just take one round of Surya Namaskar B. So if this starts to feel a little bit too strong for you, come down and take a break on your mat, or just run through what we've just been doing, Sun Salutation A. Otherwise, we're going to start with the feet together. Squeeze the inner thighs together and squeeze the knees together. As you inhale, lift the arms up and overhead. The hands are going to stay shoulder width apart and the palms face in towards each other. Draw the shoulders down the back. And as you exhale, start to sink the hips back, bending into the knees. So we're sitting into Utkatasana, chair pose here. Take a glance down towards your feet and make sure you can still see your big toe and your second toe at least. If you can't, you need to draw the weight back, sink the weight back into the heels a little more. Squeeze the inner thighs and knees together again. Reach up through the fingertips, one more breath. And exhale, fold down over the legs. Hands to the shins as you inhale and half lift. And back to our plank on the exhale, so hands to the mat, step back. Move through your vinyasa, so that's tilting the weight forwards, exhaling to lower to the floor, knees up or knees down. Inhale into your back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lengthen back and up through the hips. Let's take the weight down into the left foot. And as you breathe in, lengthen the right leg back and up behind you. Keep the hips square so you're not opening that right hip on top of the left. You're keeping it dropped down so it's level with the left hip. Flex your right toes in towards your face. Lengthen through the heel. Take another in-breath here. Then look towards your hands, and as you exhale, we're going to step the right foot forwards to the top of the mat. If it doesn't quite make it, it only makes it halfway up the mat. Use your hand to pull the foot forwards. Nice big step here. We're going to keep the back heel lifted for this. So keep your right knee over your ankle. Push through the back heel, and as you inhale, start to reach the arms forwards and up. Lengthen up through the fingertips. Shoulders settle down the back. And see, can you draw your left hip forwards and your right hip back. So you're trying to square your hips towards the top of your mat. Strengthen a little bit through the back leg. Lengthen a little bit taller through the fingertips. And then exhale, take the hands down to frame the foot again. You can step back into plank here and choose to move through your vinyasa, or you can go straight into downward facing dog. So just listen to your body, see what it feels like doing today. Either way, we're going to meet back in down dog. Hips lifted high for the left side. Taking your time to get there. Make sure you have a nice strong base with the hands. We're taking the weight into the right foot this time, and with control, slowly on the inhale, lifting the left leg back and up. Toes are flexed in. Level the hips. Try and push through the left heel. Can you press evenly into both hands? And then look towards the top of your mat. Exhale, we're going to draw the left knee in, step the foot forwards, and if it doesn't make it, use your hand to pull the foot towards the top end of the mat. Left knee over left ankle, right heel is lifted. Come up onto the fingertips. And breathing in, lifting, and lengthening the arms up and overhead. Maybe sink a little deeper into the front knee, push back through the back heel. Lengthen up a little taller through the fingers, but then settle the shoulders back down as you exhale. Can you take any overarching out of the lower back by tucking the lower front ribs in? Let's take one more breath here. And then exhale, take the hands down to frame the foot. Can we move through one more vinyasa? That's coming back into our plank. If you don't feel like you can, coming back to child's pose or into downward dog. Lowering to the floor. Inhale, arch up. Exhale back. Our last down dog of the practice. So really lengthening back and up into the tailbone. Pushing evenly into both hands and spreading the fingers wide. And can you glue the base of the index finger down into the floor? Pull the shoulders back from the ears and lengthen the crown of the head towards the top of your mat. Look towards your hands and inhale and step the feet forwards again. Feet together here and halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Coming into that chair pose one more time. So as you inhale, sink the hips, bend the knees. Squeeze knees and thighs together and reach the arms forwards and up. Maybe take the weight back into the heels a little more. Lengthen up through the fingertips, shoulders soften down the back. One more breath here. And then inhale to lift up. Exhale, release the hands down. Great. That's it. That's the hard stuff done. Roll the wrists. Maybe roll the head. Any little movements that feel good here. And then we're going to start to come down. So take a nice deep bend in the knees. You're going to let the head be heavy, let the hands be heavy. And one vertebra at a time, just letting yourself roll down. Ragdoll the body over the legs. Nice deep bend in the knees. Find softness around the head. Let it be heavy and loose. Let the knuckles just sink into the floor. And then we're going to come down towards the floor with the bum. So if it feels okay, you can start to sink the hips down. Take the hands to the mat and lower yourself that way. Good. Make sure you have enough space behind you to come down onto the floor. Keeping the knees bent, you can hold on to the knees here or take the hands behind you and let yourself lower down onto your back that way. Soles of the feet down. Hands down either side of the hips. And turn the palms to face up. Notice the spine here. So what parts of the back are heavy on the floor? And then what parts of the back are lifted or light on the mat? Maybe rinse, screen wiper the legs a couple of times, so dropping the knees to one side. Back up to center, down to the other side. And you can follow that with the head, so looking in the opposite direction of the knees. And then coming back up to center, we're going to find our way into Shavasana for the final relaxation. So let the legs lengthen out towards the end of your mat. Big wide gap between the feet. Arms are resting by the sides and palms are going to face up towards the ceiling. Let the eyes close if they haven't shut already. And let your body just come into stillness here. Allow the muscles to relax, the bones to sink down into the floor. Let the skin of the face become soft. And let go of any effort in the breath, any effort in the body, and any effort in the mind. Give yourself a few moments just in stillness to let go. And letting yourself start to come back. Take a nice full breath in and out of the body here. Feel the movements that makes on the body. Maybe curling in the fingers and the toes, spreading them back out again. Rolling the ankles and the wrists. Gently rock the head side to side. Take a moment to scrunch up the muscles of the face and then stretch them out. Reach the arms back behind the head and give yourself a good long full body stretch here. And then bending into the knees, you're going to exhale and just roll on to one side. Pause for a moment in a little sort of fetal position. Notice how the body is feeling. Notice where your mind is. And whenever you feel ready, you're going to use your hand to help push you up to sit. Sitting on the mat. Take the hands into prayer. Let the shoulders relax down the back. And let your eyes open. Thanks so much for joining me on the mat. and hopefully I'll see you at the next section. Namaste.